My goodness. Okay, so Rick and I are here in my office as the rummage sale is still taking up a lot of space, and the sisterhood took the chapel, and so we're just trying to find. We're the wandering Jews. We have found a home in my office, so we're okay on that level. So that'll be fine. Okay. Cool. I hope I have my memory right on where we actually ended. I had us in the middle of the Isaac Jacob experience here with the stealing of the blessing, is where I had us last. That we sort of like didn't finish. We didn't get to Esau busting in yet and going, "Hey, what happened here?" We didn't get to that point yet, right?
No, I think we just finished the blessing.
Yeah. And so we're going to start right around, I think it's 27, 26. Did we do that part yet?
We did. I thought we were up to 30. So the blessing is 28.
The blessing is 28. Yeah, and so now things are hopping, things are boiling because Esau's coming in and Esau's going to throw a chair. Who can blame him? So let's, before we dive in, let's say our blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitchan b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And so the way I always view this, it's like Jacob has exited stage left. He's got the blessing. And sort of runs off. And as he's exiting towards the left, Esau's coming in on the right side of the screen, looking all happy and pleased with himself. Maybe he killed some deer out there, some goat, whatever he killed. Made a nice little plate for his father. It's very nice. A little grilling, little stewing, little mixing. He's created something delicious, and he's ready to give it to dear old dad, who is now full because he's eaten already. And so Esau is not going to be so thrilled, as we can guess. So, Rick, you want to nice and loud so I can hear you at home?
No sooner had Jacob left the presence of his father Isaac, after Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, than his brother Esau came back from his hunt. He too prepared a dish and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father sit up and eat of his son's game, so that you may give me your innermost blessing."
Mm-hmm.
His father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son Esau, your firstborn." Isaac was seized with very violent trembling. "Who was it then," he demanded, "that hunted game and brought it to me? Moreover, I ate of it before you came, and I blessed him. Now he must remain blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into wild and bitter sobbing and said to his father, "Bless me too, Father."
Okay, so it's a very emotional moment as this Esau sort of comes in. Again, he's very proud of himself, has all the yummy food, and he goes to Isaac, "Hey, sit up, relax, have a little of this good stuff that I made for you. It's a good cholent, have some cholent. It's nice to have a hot meal." And Isaac's like, "Who are you? What's going on? What's happening here?" Then he gets the big reveal, and we spoke a little bit last time around, but this idea of how much did Isaac know versus how much he doesn't know. And certainly in this context over here, it's clear he doesn't know anything, right? He thought he was a great actor. He was nominated for a Golden Globe, and so he was very excited. But he sees with this violent trembling, he's so upset about what's happening. And again, he's not too quick on the uptake. He doesn't really know who gave it to him. So I think it's pretty clear, who did this by now was Jacob. And I love this line. I blessed him, and now he must remain blessed, because the first rule of blessings is no backsies. You can't take it back. If you bless, you have to be blessed. You can't, undo it. No returns, no nothing. You have to keep no exchanges, no returns. So he's got the blessing, and Esau is not amused. Yeah. Hi.
Sandra Fuchko wanted to borrow a prayer book. Where would I get that for her?
You can just grab it out of the sanctuary. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I sign something?
No, go ahead.
Honestly sign?
Yeah. And so we have this issue now, right, of Esau being somewhat enraged, somewhat upset.
Found a price tag. I don't know
Price
where
tag
it
from
came
the rummage sale.
It's on me.
Yes. So we have this idea now. So Esau's upset, obviously, and then this wild and bitter sobbing. To me, it's sort of wrenching to me, like this paragraph, because both father and son have been deceived, by the other brother here. That Isaac's, clearly very upset. He's sort of racked with guilt and being sort of really, I don't know, just completely feeling, I think, probably betrayed and bamboozled. And the same thing for Esau, that sort of feels the same way. So even though we don't always see Esau as really a great character, sort of a hero of the story, one can't help, in my opinion, to feel a little bit bad for him, in this moment, that this is wild and bitter sobbing is really, it's upsetting. He cares, if he wants the blessing, and then not so much.
Max.
Yeah, some pirate booty on the table. Yeah. So okay. Excellent. Leah, you want to pick up here?
Okay, sorry. But he answered, "Your brother came with guile and took away your blessing," Esau said. Esau said, "Was he then named Jacob that he might supplant me these 2 times? First, he took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my blessing." And he added, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Isaac answered, saying to Esau, "But I have made him master over you. I've given him all his brothers for servants and sustained him with grain and wine. What then can I still do for you, my son?"
Okay, give me one more.
And Esau said to his father, "Have you but one blessing, father? Bless me too, father." And Esau wept aloud. And his father Isaac answered, saying to him, "See, your abode shall enjoy the fat of the earth and the dew of heaven above. Yet your sword shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restive, you shall break his yoke from your neck."
Okay, and so again, a little challenging here. So in the beginning, we have Esau and then Isaac, and Isaac saying, "Hey, look, don't know what to tell you. Your brother outsmarted us, put one over on us, and took your blessing away." Esau's like, "Come on now, he already messed me up once, like messed me up twice with the birthright and now the blessing. This is not fun. And again, is this like a one-shot deal? How about a blessing from me too? How about you bless him, you can bless me? Are you out of blessings? Did it go out of stock? Is there a supply chain issue? What's happening with the blessings? Can someone please, give me a blessing?" I said, I already gave him the good one. It's like he got the good blessing. It's like getting the big piece of chicken at dinner. Like he got the good stuff. You got a drumstick maybe, but that's a problem. So I've given, the wine and the grain and everything else. And he's like, come on, give me something here. After all, I made you a stew. Give me something. And so Isaac sort of finagles and figures out a blessing. But yeah, you'll have some abundance, but you're going to have violence all your days. Right? By the sword up, you shall live. And you're still going to be subservient, to your brother. But he said, you know what? There'll be a day will come, right, where you can sort of get a little bit of payback, right? You can, sort of make sure he's not always domineering over you. You'll be able to somehow get free of him in a time in the future, right? Something, right? Is it the best prize out there? Is it the grand prize? No, he didn't win a brand new car and the price is right. He got some luggage maybe, but the luggage is nice, whatever it is. It might not be, the car, but he got something out of the deal. So maybe he should be happy, but he's not so happy, as we're going to see in a moment. And Sharon, you want to pick up here? Now, Esau harbored.
Mm-hmm. Now, Esau harbored a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing which his father had given him. And Esau said to himself, let but the mourning period of my father come, and I will kill my brother Jacob. When the words of her oldest son Esau was reported to Rebekah, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. Now, my son, listen to me. Flee at once to Haran, to my brother Laban. Stay with him a while until your brother's fury subsides, until your brother's anger against you subsides, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will fetch you from there. Let me not lose you both in one day. Rebecca
Yeah,
said,
it's a little rough. I'll give you that one, but it's a little rough, right? Esau's not amused. Just wait till dad dies, then he's gonna get it. This happens a couple times, in the Bible. This idea that like, while my father lives, nothing happens to Fredo. That kind of thing here. So like that's what we have here. Rick, I got the difference at least. But that idea that you can't do anything while dad's around. Well, once dad goes, then all bets are off. And he's seething, he's full of rage, and Rebecca's no dummy. Rebecca sort of says, Jacob, it might be a great idea. Little road trip. Maybe pack your bags, see the countryside, maybe get out while the getting is good. I got a relative out in, wherever it is, in the faraway regions. Might want to take a little trip and maybe don't plan on coming back anytime soon. I love this idea. It's like, eventually Esau will forget what you did. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen so much. I think Esau's got a pretty good memory. But the idea, and by the way, it is actually part of Jewish tradition, Jewish values, that when you cause somebody pain and distress, right? When you sort of do that through word or deed, they say that you actually don't go to that person right away. You have to give them a little bit of time, because in the heat of their anger and the heat of their fury, you're not going to get a forgiveness. It's really hard to do any kind of teshuva while a person is not in the mood to forgive. And so I say, maybe it's wise, give it a day, give it whatever it might be. Let the anger, let the intensity of the moment sort of simmer down, and then go, and request some kind of, to be forgiven for whatever one did, since that's kind of appeasement, right? Reconciliation. And so I think Esau's going to take a little time to be angry. I'll put it that way. It might not be a good idea. Hey, bro, sorry I just stole your blessing yesterday. I might get bludgeoned to death with, something. And plus, we know that Esau has, the strength advantage. Obviously, Esau's, sort of the big burlier dude. He's got the better reach. So might be like a third round knockout for Jacob. So you don't want to do that. You want to keep all your teeth in place. So I think Esau and Jacob, they're going to need some time apart, separate rooms, alone zones, a little time out from each other, right? And then Rebecca says, you know what? When it's better, I'll get you. But meanwhile, time to lamb it. Time to get out of here. And this idea of like, if Esau kills him, then obviously Esau will be in a lot of trouble. And so it's like she'll be losing both of her sons in one day. And that's not a thing, obviously, she wants to happen. So time to hit the road. Get out while the getting is good. Make sense?
makes sense, but it's so disturbing.
So disturbing that family relationship.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to read in the Bible about a brother killing another brother, and the mother says, "Go somewhere else, so your brother can't kill you." It's not the most, I don't know. It's not the most cheerful story, obviously.
No, I know we don't have a lot of happy family tales.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's very underhanded? I mean,
Yeah.
Jacob is sly and slimy, actually.
Cunning.
Cunning. There we go. He's
That's a
full of
nice way of
guile.
saying it.
He's got guile. He's got chutzpah. No, yeah, it's obviously very, it's, he acts very deceitfully and dishonestly, you know, and he's got some urging from Mother Dearest here.
I think that's really, she's worse. It's her own son she's doing this to.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
we had a great program. This is years ago. So if you all remember a couple of years back, early, like it was our first high holidays together, you know, me and the community, and we had our slichot program, and we did the trial of Eve. You know, we put Eve on trial for, you know,
Oh, I remember.
Eve versus humanity.
Yep.
It was a slichot program,
Around his
and
plate.
so
What?
we did
He's
another
coming up.
program
He's hungry.
similarly. Whoa, there's a lot of noise somewhere.
All right.
Are you in a meeting or something?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. You didn't say.
Hold on.
He's been barking a little bit.
I think that's Gary, but hold on. Okay, so and so we did a similar program in California of the trial of Rebecca, you know, and try to get a sense, you know, or I think maybe it was Jacob, I think it was Rebecca, this idea of like, is she really responsible for this whole Mishigas? You know, I don't think it went out very well for her, the trial. I don't remember the actual details, but that was a part of the conversation. I was like, what's her culpability here? You know, what's Jacob's culpability? You know, how much free will does Jacob have? You know, Jacob sort of makes his choices, and Rebecca sort of puts things in motion. But they're both, again, pulling the wool over the eyes, both literally and figuratively, I guess, in a lot of ways in the story, over dear old dad. You know, it's gonna take one heck of a Father's Day card, is all I'm saying. You know, you know. Okay, and yeah, Sharon, want to finish this off, Rebecca?
Sure. Rebecca said to Isaac, I am disgusted with my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries a Hittite woman like these from among the native women, what good will life be to me?
Okay, and so Rebecca here, because Rebecca's pretty smart, she has a reason for everything. Oh, Isaac, I sent Jacob off because I don't want him hooking up with one of these Hittite women here. Esau's got two of them, right? Esau's married to two Hittite women, and Rebecca's not amused, you know, doesn't want them at Sunday dinner either, you know. So let's not have these two around. Sorry, that she already has these two around, and she wants Jacob to marry a nice Jewish girl, you know, and says, hey, you know, that's why I'm sending him off. Let him go find a wife from amongst our people to carry on our traditions, etc., etc. Because I'm not a fan of the local cuisine. You know, we have to have something that's a little bit different, right? So Rebecca's again trying to smooth it out a little bit. Oh, I'm not sending him to flee for his life. I'm sending him to find, you know, a mate, a partner.
Rabbi, how do
Yes.
we Jewish people at that women at that time?
Yeah, here it's obviously more like Canaanite, Israelite. You know, I just substituted Jewish for the modern context. Yeah, no, we're talking about Canaanite, you know, or better said here, you know, sort of from their household, these Hebrew, you know, women from the hometown, basically. Sending them back to the homestead to find a nice Jewish girl, or again, nice Hebrew, Canaanite, Aramean, you know, back east, you know, can't have that. So now it's funny because before he goes, and actually here we get the reference here actually in the next thing. But before Jacob does hit the road, he does go back to Isaac. So they have this moment, and you would think Isaac would like hit him with a stick or something, but that doesn't happen here. Isaac's pretty conciliatory in this moment. And actually, let's see here. Actually, Bob, do you want to pick up here? So Isaac sent. Bob.
Okay, so
Yep.
Isaac sent for Jacob and blessed him. He instructed him, saying, "You shall not take a wife from among the Canaanite women. Up, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife there from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May El Shaddai bless you, make you fertile and numerous, so that you become an assembly of peoples. May God grant the blessing of Abraham to you and your offspring, that you may possess the land where you are sojourning, which God assigned to Abraham." Then Isaac sent Jacob off. He went to Padan Aram, to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, mother of Jacob and Esau.
There you go. That's good. We'll stop right there. And so Isaac sends them off, keeping it in the family. I didn't do the family tree, but I'm pretty sure talking about cousins here. Yes, yeah. Rick did the family tree.
It sounds like first cousins.
Yep, first cousins. Nothing says love like marrying your cousin. I think I saw that somewhere in Kentucky. But that's neither here nor there.
Not anymore.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, it's I mean, here obviously, like, there's something about the family and family relations, and so, genetically, I'm not sure how much that helped us on into the future. Yeah, it's like Tay-Sachs, but like the issue is that, and obviously we know this from our own genetic history, is that that's why Ashkenazic Jews have higher instances of some of these genetic issues, because they marry in the clan, so to speak. And when you marry in the clan enough, then there's more potential for some of these genes to cause a problem. Where there's more diversity, and biology and genetics have shown us this. When there's more diversity in the gene pool, it could lead to healthier, sort of more vibrant stock. And so in this case, again, not so much. We're just keeping it all in the family at this point. Okay, but he's schlepping off. And of course, Esau is no dummy. He sees what happens here, and he makes a little lifestyle change. So Bob, you want to give us one more?
Yes. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him off to Padan Aram to take a wife from there, charging him as he blessed him, "You shall not take a wife from among the Canaanites women," and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and gone to Padan Aram. Esau realized that the Canaanite women displeased his father Isaac. So Esau went to Ishmael and took a wife, in addition to the wives he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael's son of Abraham, sister of Nebaioth.
Okay, and so now we went to a different direction, still in the family, but a different side of the family, and so went to Ishmael, Isaac's brother, and said, "Hey, you have any daughters for me?" And so we got another daughter there. That would mark it as three wives, so if you're counting, if you're keeping track at home, you can't tell the players without a scorecard, so he has wife number 3. Okay, thank you, Bob. Next up, our next reader, Barbara, would you like to read?
Yes, thank you. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. He came upon a certain place and stopped there for the night, for the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of that place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. He had a dream. A stairway was set on the ground, and its top reached to the sky, and the angels of God were going up and down on it.
Yeah, this is a nice part of our text here, a very special part of Genesis. It's actually, our sanctuary, our ark has that ladder, and it's from this story. that Jacob, he stops, he's tired, he's schlepping around a lot, right? So you got to find a place to rest one's feet for the night. He's gonna take a little schluff. A stone for a pillow doesn't sound too comfortable to me, but nonetheless, that's what he's got. He's in the desert. It's not like he has, a sitter, a comforter, a sleeper there. He's gonna sleep on the ground. So, and he has a dream. He dreamed a dream, and a stairway was set on the ground. Stairway, ladder, whatever, it's interchangeable. The Hebrew is sulam, if that matters, but there it is a stairway, ladder, whatever it is, and it reaches the heavens, and then the angels of God were going up and down on it. Fascinating, for a number of reasons. Here, of course, we have the presence of angels, which is nice to have some angels as part of our text again, and they're going up and down on it, which might strike some as odd, because usually we think of angels going in one direction. Angels go up because they're in heaven, but they're angels that are coming down, hanging out with us. And so we have this idea of the angels as messengers, right? They're going up and down. Sometimes they're sent down for a mission. They do whatever they're doing, and they go back up. And other times, they're all completed with their mission, and they just go back. So whatever it is, they're going up and down at this point. Quite a vision. Quite a vision indeed, of these angels going up and down the ladder. It's taking great restraint not to sing Stairway to Heaven, but that's okay. But I'm gonna, I'll pass on that one. Okay, Barbara, want to give me one more?
And the Eternal was standing beside him, and God said, I am the Eternal, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. The ground on which you are lying, I will assign to you and to your offspring. Your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you and your descendants. Remember, I am with you. I will protect you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you.
Okay, thank you for that. So we get the big reveal. I always like this idea of God standing beside him. Boom, sort of turns to his left. The deity. But hopefully it's some kind of vision, so God's next to him and gives him the lowdown here, gives him the information that he needs. By the way, nice to meet you. Even though you've spent the last, first part of your life messing around with your family. Hi, I'm God. I just want to let you know that we renew the covenant here, that you're going to get this land upon which you are lying with your feet up. And your descendants shall be the dust of the earth. We've seen this with Abraham. Same with this thing of west and east and north and south. They're going to be everywhere. And all the families of the earth will bless themselves by you. And God promises Jacob some protection, right? God's going to be his bodyguard, and sort of protect him from harm on this journey, and that God's always going to be with him. So really, again, a really cool moment, where Jacob sort of gets this big speech, reaffirming, renewing, the covenant. And so it's a really powerful moment for Jacob, because up until this point, we don't have God speaking to Jacob. This is sort of the first time that God is going to interact now with Jacob, and it's a pretty big deal, pretty big again, reaffirmation of the covenant. Okay, thank you for that. Melissa, you want to pick up there?
Where are we?
Jacob awoke. Yeah, Jacob awoke from his sleep.
Jacob awoke from his sleep.
Yeah, I think so.
16,
Mhm.
43.
Oh, where am I? Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is present in this place, and I do not know it. Shaken, he said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the abode of God, and that is the gateway to heaven. Early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. He named that site Bethel, but previously the name of the city had been Luz.
Yeah, in case you didn't know where you were, basically trying to give you some biblical geography. You know that city before that was Luz. Now it's Bethel. not it's this, don't call it Luz anymore, right? We're back to Bethel. But yeah, it's this great moment. Like Jacob awakes from his sleep, and it's another very famous quote. Surely God is in this place, and I did not know it. It's this expression of shock, of amazement, of radical amazement and wonder, right? As Heschel would say, right? This moment of radical amazement where he just, wow, he just has this vision, this, awesome experience, awesome in the literal interpretation, not the 20th, 21st century. It is full of awe. It is awesome, in this moment. And sort of says it again, this is like the gateway to heaven, this is God's house, and so he has to mark it, right? And so Bethel is the house of God, right? Beit El, so this is the house of God. He marks it, and he takes that stone that he had been using as a pillow and makes it an altar. That's why there's a midrash saying that the stones were fighting each other for the right to be Jacob's pillow. So just one more thing for the stones to do. I want to be the pillow. No, I want to be the pillow. And Jacob picks one of them. I forget how it manifests itself. But this idea that it's a big honor to be Jacob's pillow. So that being said, again, like when I read this portion, and certainly like this has taken on new meaning in the past couple of years, this idea that when our synagogues and our sanctuaries have been off limits because of COVID, we've had to find God in different places, and I think we're used to finding God in nature, being outdoors. Like we're finding God through Zoom screens, and like sitting in our kitchens and whatever it is, that we can have these holy, sacred moments, even if we're not in the sanctuary, and that God's place and God's presence can be everywhere. That God isn't only found in the synagogue or in the sanctuary. God can be found in everyday moments of holiness and of connectivity. You just have to sort of awake from your sleep, so to speak. You have to be aware of it. You have to be able to sort of see and open up one's eyes to the divine all around us. And so that's what I think this particular part of the Torah, says, that it's just about God being everywhere, in this place and in all places. We can find God's presence if only we open our eyes to look. Any questions?
By the way, Rabbi, Bethel is the house of God, right?
Yes, house of God. Yeah, Beit El. Yep, you got it right. Anyone else have any thoughts, comments on this part before we move forward? Where do we like to find God? Anyone have any fun places where they have encountered, had a moment like this, like Jacob? No, just the sanctuary, Rabbi.
I can tell a story about. We have what we call first appearances when someone's arrested. There's a judge who turned around and once said, "Clearly, God lives in Pinellas County because everyone seems to find him there."
Yes, yes. Finding God.
Pinellas County Jail, Remnant.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Story.
It's good time to find God, find religion afterwards, right? We get here a very interesting prayer that Jacob says, and I'm going to let Melissa, why don't you finish that off? Jacob then made a vow.
Jacob then made a vow saying, "If God remains with me, if he protects me on this journey that I am making, and gives me bread to eat and clothing to wear, and if I return safe to my father's house, the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set up as a pillar shall be God's abode, and all of that you give me, I will set aside a tithe for you." A
tithe. Yep.
It's money.
Yeah, money, a little cash. What do people make of this little prayer here, this little vow?
Kind of weird. I mean, he's setting conditions.
It's a conditional vow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Conditional.
It's like, man, he's even with God.
She's trying to play a game with God too.
Yeah.
Is that where dues came from?
Oh, it's coming. Yeah, dues definitely. I can only wish. That's like 10%. I'm lucky to get 0.5. I'd be rolling in it with 10% dues. So anyway, so yeah, exactly right. It's always struck me as a weird sort of part of the Torah because it is very conditional. There's like if, and he just had this like holy, divine experience, a sacred moment where like God's next to you and the angels are coming down, and God makes you a promise already, right? Like, I'm going to protect you on your journey. And Jacob says, well, if you do that, that'd be awesome. And you'll sure, like you basically hold up your end of the bargain, God, and we're good. But if you don't, maybe I'll worship Baal, it's whatever it might be, it's like I'll find another deity. But if you do this, if you do that, if you do that, then you'll be God, my God, I should say.
It seems
Rabbi?
a little disrespectful.
A little disrespectful, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't a lot of us make bargains at times with God?
Indeed, we do, right? And so that's a part of this, right? Is that this is almost like a bargaining, kind of prayer that we want to make a deal, want to make an arrangement, and if God, you do X, then I'm going to volunteer at the soup kitchen, every Wednesday night, right? I think we get this when people are sick, usually.
Mm-hmm.
That you sort of have this moment or in trouble, right? And so when those vows are made, one wonders, like, if things do work out, God willing, for the better, do people keep those vows? Or are those the sort of like ones that are uttered in distress and trauma and are forgotten, afterwards? I don't know, but I think definitely it is bargaining. It's a bargaining with God, and yeah, I don't know. Works for Jacob, works for others, to be sure. I think asking God to prove God's self is a little sketchy, perhaps. But then again, Jacob's a little sketchy, as it is. So maybe we shouldn't be overly surprised. There are ways, certainly, of reading this for the good, right? For the benefit of Jacob. But I feel like a close reading of this makes it look a little bit a little tricky, perhaps. But again, this should be the worst thing Jacob does, because it's not. We've already read some other stuff that's a little bit rougher for on Jacob. Maybe we can forgive him a less than eloquently worded prayer, or the a wait and see sort of version of prayer. If this then that. I mean, look, that's commonplace enough, right? We do that with other people, sometimes, right? I mean,
It's like
Yeah.
God promised him that he's going to inherit the earth.
I think it's the timing. Rick thinks it's of the timing. Like when God had literally just told him, that God's going to actually do whatever Jacob is saying afterwards. In a way, it's like, didn't you hear me? I was pretty clear. I don't think God likes to reiterate once God already iterates. So okay. Onwards. Chapter 29. I like this part. I love Genesis. Okay, so 29. Tyler, you want to read 29 nice and loud?
Jacob resumed his journey and came to the land of the Easterners. There before his eyes was a well in the open. 3 flocks of sheep were lying there beside it, for the flocks were watered from that well. The stone on the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, the stone would be rolled from the mouth of the well and the sheep watered. Then the stone would be put back in its place on the mouth of the well.
Okay, so Jacob's schlepping, and he sees a well. It's a common use. There's a well there for all of the different flocks to be watered, but there's cover, right? Because you can't just have it be open all the time. Things would get in, so you have to push the big stone off the mouth of the well, and then everyone waters it. So when everyone is there, they roll the thing off, and everyone gets the water. Then they put it back on. Easy enough. Okay, Tyler, keep going.
Jacob said to them, "My friends, where are you from?" And they said, "We are from Haran." He said to them, "Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor?" And they said, "Yes, we do." He continued, "Is he well?" They answered, "Yes, he is. And there is his daughter Rachel, coming with the flock. He said, "It is still broad daylight, too early to round up the animals, water the flock, and take them to the pasture." But they said, "We cannot until all the flocks are rounded up. Then the stone is rolled off the mouth of the well, and we water the sheep."
Keep going.
While, while he was still speaking to them, Rachel came with her father's flock, and for she was a shepherdess.
Okay, and so here we have the beginnings. Obviously, he's there. Hey, who are you? Oh, you just happen to be the people we're looking for. Yes, this is the droid you were looking for. You know, like we're here hanging out together by the well. And look who's that. Hey, it's Rachel. You know, we're gonna get obviously a little foreshadowing here. And he's like, "Yo, you know, we're here. Let's get the watering going. You know, let's get the sheep watered so we can get out and continue with our day. But we can't because we need all these people here to roll the darn stone off the well." But then, while he's still chatting it up, oh, he sees Rachel coming with the father's flock because she was a shepherdess. Word we don't hear very often anymore. I think they're all just shepherds now, but a shepherdess, fine. And so Rachel's coming with the flock. Gary, you want to pick up here?
Okay. And when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of his uncle Laban, and the flock of his uncle Laban, Jacob went up and rolled the stone off the mouth of the well, and watered the flock of his uncle Laban. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and broke into tears. Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman, that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father.
It's this great moment because no one can move the rock, right? You know, it's like you need 20 people to move the stupid stone off the rock and then off the well. And all of a sudden Jacob sees Rachel. Oh yeah, hulks up, gets those muscles going, and he's going to push that off the you know, he is like, he's showing off, right? It's a little like, you know, I'll show you mama's boy, right? So like he's going to move the rock all by himself, show off those big muscles, the Herculean muscles of Jacob. And once he does it all by himself, they can water all the sheep together. And then it's time for a little hug, hug, kiss, kiss, you know, with Rachel. Everyone's very happy. And hey, we're related, you know, but that's, again, that seems to be a benefit, you know, in this thing. So that's their meet cute. You have to have a meet cute, you know, if that's part of the story. Oh, Dad, you wouldn't believe it. I saw him at the well, and he's just so strong and so handsome. And he moved the stone all by himself. Oh, it's a nice little story you can tell at the wedding. But as we know, we're going to have a little bit of a problem when we get there to that. Again, spoiler alert. We're going to not have a smooth transition here. Okay, Gary, give me a little more on hearing the news.
Okay. On hearing the news of his sister's son, Jacob, Laban ran to greet him. He embraced him and kissed him and took him into his house. He told Laban all that had happened, and Laban said to him, "You are truly my bone and flesh." When he had stayed with him a month's time, Laban said to Jacob, "Just because you are a kinsman, you should serve me for nothing. Tell me, what shall your wages be?" Now Laban had two daughters. The name of the older one was Leah, and the name of the younger one was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes. Rachel was shapely and beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so they're all together now, family time. But Jacob's working for a living here. You know, he's doing the farming and the shepherding and all that other good stuff. And Laban says, "Hey, you know, you've been here for a while. You know, even though we're family, you shouldn't work for free. You know, like I'm happy to pay you something. You know, family's family, but you know, you got to earn a living." And so, again, a little foreshadowing here. Laban says, "Hey, I got two daughters. You know, we have Leah and we have Rachel. Leah's the older one. Rachel's the younger. Leah has, the dreaded weak eyes. And Rachel was, of course, shapely and beautiful. Weak eyes, there's been just a ton of commentary on this. what weak eyes what might mean is it's sort of a physical issue. Sort of when you look at her eyes sort of dull and listless, sort of not piercing and powerful. Was she actually visually, impaired? There are some people who think that weak is not the best translation, where it should be she had like compassionate, sort of kind eyes, like in a way, right? Sort of not as a negative, but as a positive. Though I would say that in the context, it's sort of hard to justify. It seems like making a comparison, whereas like Leah has a physical weakness, so to speak. But there's Rachel, who's drop dead gorgeous. She's Miss Universe or whatever it might be over there. So I do think they're trying to make a comparison that like one is more physically attractive sort of than the other, though obviously doesn't speak to Leah's sort of heart or character. It's just more of a physical thing, right away. But there's a difference. And so, okay, so we have this now set up here. And so Jacob's like, Jacob loved Rachel, love at first sight. And so he answered, I'll serve you 7 years for that younger daughter, Rachel. Laban said, not bad. Better that I give her to you than I should give her to an outsider. So stay with me. So Jacob, it's, he's 7 years is a long time. That's not a short period of time, but Jacob has a lot of love in his heart. So Jacob served for 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of his love for her. It's so beautiful. I'm gonna break up here, but that's nice when you're in love, right? That it just seems like it's just flying by. And so fine, great. Jacob then says to Laban, "Hey, give me my wife. If time is fulfilled, so that I may cohabit with her." We're gonna say cohabit here. So sure. And Laban says, "Okay, great. We're gonna gather all the people of the place and made a feast. You got to have a shindig, even then, right? You can't just have a ceremony. You got to feed people. I want that carving station. That first hour is really important. That's all I'm staying for usually. And so that's why I have those different stations up. I like those little hot dogs. Those are good. But really the key is the baby lamb chops. So if that's around, aces. But you have vegetarian stations, Chinese food station, Italian station. This is the Long Island in me coming up in those 5 years. Just look ridiculous. Every parent of these B'nai Mitzvah families gained at least 15 pounds during like those years because it was just brutal. So again, gotta have a nosh. You can't just have a ceremony. It doesn't work. Which, by the way, is not the case in all traditions. I mean, I once went to a Baptist wedding, and I had punch and pie and got out of there. It was like 30 minutes. I'm like, come on now. Well, that's not how you do it, but that's how you do it. Not bad. It works well. So they have a feast. And now it's time for the scandal. Those who trick get tricked in return. What goes around comes around. When evening came, he took his daughter, Leah, and brought her to him, and he cohabited with her. Laban had given his maidservant Zilpah to his daughter Leah as her maid. Don't really need that right now, but it's there anyway. When morning came, there's Leah. Maybe too much wine at dinner, right? But there's Leah. And so he said to Laban, "What of this you've done to me? I was in your service for Rachel. Why did you deceive me?" And Laban said, "Well, it's not the practice in our place to marry off the younger before the older. Wait until the bridal week of this one is of this one, a little rough, right? Of this one is over, and I'll give you that one too." Well, loving dad. I just, you can feel it in his heart. Provided you serve me another 7 years. He did so, waited out the bridal week of the one, and then he gave him his daughter Rachel as wife. And then Laban had given his maidservant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maid. And then Jacob cohabited with Rachel also. Indeed, he loved Rachel more than Leah, served him another 7 years. So this is what happens when you mess with your dad and your brother and stealing birthrights and blessings and everything else. Sometimes again things bad things happen to those who engage in such chicanery.
Get stuck with Leah.
He gets stuck, but it's fast. But she gets stuck too. I think is the issue, right? Like and that's difficult. And we're gonna get into it probably next week a little bit more of how the children sort of come to be in that story, because most of the tribes are not born by Rachel or born by her maid, but the vast majority of the tribes come from Leah and come from her maid, right? And so one sees a little bit of recompense sort of that way. But it's just a fantastic story because Jacob gets tricked, right? So Jacob gets tricked by, and we always say he gets tricked by Laban, right? By Laban. But that's actually not true. He gets tricked by who? By the women. Both of them. They were both there, Leah and Rachel, right? They were in on this scam the entire time too, because they had to have been. Rachel knows, hey, that's not me under the chuppah, right? She's standing off to the left. They must have hidden.
She had a choice because she was like a younger one.
I don't know what choice she had, but you could have maybe given a heads up. I mean, I feel like that's not something that would have been. Like, hey, I'm in the cheap seats here. Like, if she's bound and gagged in the trunk of a car, maybe she has an excuse. But
it's interesting that it's Rebecca's brother and his daughter.
Yeah.
And Rebecca, they're the two they're the ones who set up both of them.
To set up both
brother
of them.
And sister.
Yeah, there's a lot of trickery going on. And the Midrash has just a ball with this, as one can guess, because they say that Rachel and Leah had to conspire with each other to pull off this whole thing. Because it's not only about the wedding, it's about the wedding night as well. Of course, the rabbis all have dirty minds because that's what we do. Apparently, when we are staying up all night to study Torah, we have to have these things come into our mind because they're saying that Jacob might not have been the brightest bulb in the world, in this moment in time, but he might be able to tell which sister is which. And so they said that on the wedding night together, here to be scandalized, on the wedding night together, Rachel's in the bedroom as well, underneath the bed. And so that way, during their cohabitation, Rachel can make all the noises. And Leah's quiet because her voice would give her away. It's a different person, might be dark, but she has a voice, whatever it is. And so
First to cover her up.
yeah, I like to add a little midrash for you while we're here.
Rachel's shapely and beautiful.
Shapely and beautiful.
See Rachel.
It was dark, it was too much to drink usually, but this idea, right, that they have to have something where that midrash obviously is meant to be, I think, silly, but just to but to further go into this idea of they were in on it. They had to have been in some way in order to trick him. So it wasn't just one person who tricked him. It was a whole family affair to trick him. And even if Rachel wasn't necessarily a willing participant in this whole charade here, what they say is that Rachel, really felt bad for Leah. She really felt bad for her sister that this whole thing was happening, and because she knew that Leah didn't have a choice in this whole endeavor as well. The father wasn't calling the shots, but she wanted to protect her sister's dignity. I wanted to sort of make this go as easily as possible for her in this moment where she's being used. Let's be clear, she's being used in a way, by her father to get another 7 years of free labor out of Jacob, right? And so,
Do you really think she was upset about it?
Is that
I think so. I think she was upset about it. I feel like she saw, I think, very clearly that Jacob was interested in her sister, and then to sort of pull the old switcheroo. I don't know how much she would have loved that idea of being put in that position. I don't know. I think she wasn't thrilled about it. And plus,
Was it the normal thing to give a maidservant to each one of them? Is that something custom? Or what?
yeah, it's like almost like a bride gift in a way, right? It's like Laban is going to give each of them sort of a servant from the household, and make Jacob, who was already going to be pretty busy with 2 wives, even busier with 4. I mean, he's no Solomon, but I mean, because Solomon had like 1,000, but one has to make the assumption that 4 would be quite enough and could occupy his day. I'll put it that way.
And
I
Rabbi,
noticed-
was that, oh, go ahead. Go
I was
ahead,
gonna
Jerry.
say, I noticed it says, it was not the practice of our place to marry off the younger before the older. And some groups, they still do that, and the younger ones cannot marry until
Yeah.
the older
Until you-
children have been, spoused.
Yeah, and again, there's that hierarchy, with the firstborn, right, and how that plays out, and sometimes that's usurped, because we've seen that, in different stories, right? Jacob is technically the younger, right, out of the brothers, and we have this a couple times in other narratives about playing this dynamic of firstborn, secondborn, and what does that mean? And just like Jacob sort of messed around with the birth order, so to speak, he gets it on the other end, where he gets messed around with the birth order. And one might have thought, but he didn't grow up here anymore. But maybe he could have thought, hey, I know the practices of my home country. But now this, of course, goes back to for us today in the modern world, the veil, right? The veil of the bride, and that during the wedding you unveil the bride to make sure that you're marrying the right person.
Right.
You sort of do the bedecken, for that reason, and so you make sure that you're not marrying the wrong person.
So Rabbi, what was the purpose? The purpose of deceiving Jacob was just to get 7 more years from him? That was their purpose?
I think so, to get that free
Wow.
labor. And again, one also might think, if one to go in a different direction with it, or an additional direction with it, is that maybe he was like, hey, where am I going to find a spouse, for my oldest daughter who's not a looker, like, what am I going to do here? And maybe he was also trying to sort of work that angle as well. I'm not sure, but I do think, it was about the labor, it was about the work. Because Jacob, as we saw, pretty strong dude, right? He's able to do a lot
Lift the
of farm
rock.
work, and he's there. So let's get the work from him. And again, Laban is not completely unreasonable in the sense where he's not like, because sometimes when we read the story, we think he has to work another 7 years and then marry Rachel. That's not what happens. He gets there after a week. He's like, well, enjoy your honeymoon with Leah, and after that you can get married again. And then you work the 7 years, the honor system, gets to work from the 7 years. It should be noted, of course, that in Leviticus, this whole deal is eventually outlawed, that you're not allowed to marry siblings. You can marry more than one woman in Leviticus, but you can't marry 2 sisters, and that doesn't work out so well. So sister wives, so you can't do that. That should be the biggest problem, I guess, in this relationship. But it's going to be outlawed later. But he has again the two wives, the 2 sisters, and the 2 maidservants now, so it's part of his household, and he's still working there another 7 years. He still has to complete his term of service. But it really is a fascinating story about, again, perhaps we look at this as Jacob sort of getting his comeuppance a bit, for the way he lived his life earlier. And in fact, again, going back to the Midrash, that's part of it. He goes to Rachel and goes, what the heck? I thought you loved me. And then how could you let this happen? And she goes to him, hey, the trickster is going to complain about being tricked. This is, it could happen. Sorry, dude. But I do like the idea of like Rachel's sort of loyalty, to Leah being part of the story, that she cares about her sister and cares about her honor. Especially when we consider, again, the sibling dynamics of Genesis, it's nice if we think about it as 2 sisters who care for each other. I'm not sure if that holds up in the rest of the story, I'm going to be honest, but I do like the idea that that's at least part the machinations here, is that they care about each other. Leah's sort of forced into it. Rachel's trying to be protective of her because even though she loves Jacob, she also loves her sister too. And so I think that can be a little bit of a sweet reading in a otherwise fairly sordid story as well. With that, it is 8:01, and so we're going to call it the Bible study for this week. And this is actually our last week for a little while because the rabbi is on a much deserved and needed vacation for a couple of weeks, God willing. So, we have, we're going to be back January 4th, I believe is the Tuesday, or 3rd, whatever the first Tuesday in January is, we're back. But you have 2 weeks to amuse yourselves from 7 to 8 o'clock, but don't read ahead because,
Don't read ahead.
We won't.
Don't read ahead. We got a lot of kids coming in the next part of the story, right? So we have the birth of the 12 tribes next, so, or at least 10 out of the 12. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, great to have everyone here. Great studying with you all. Great sharing some of this great biblical text. And we'll catch you all sooner than later.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
Have a good time.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you sooner than later.
Happy New Year.
And a happy new year.